The 2024-25 Premier League campaign is on the horizon. In preparation, we're previewing every single team and discussing how they'll shape up over the next campaign. We take a look at the transfer business conducted by the teams so far and offer suggestions of who else they should move for before the season gets started. Now we're on to West Ham. A difficult season last year, ending the sacking of much-loved manager David Moyes. But now the Lopetegui era is here and West Ham fans have a lot to be excited about. We analyse their incredible business so far, as well as passing judgment as to whether it's the best window of all the Premier League clubs. This is our 2024-25 season preview for West Ham United. Alright, let's talk about West Ham then. Probably the side that going into this season have the most positivity, most belief. They've had a fantastic window so far, but we do like to start these previews by going back and looking through the past. We're going to talk about last season briefly. 9th in the Premier League. I think on paper that looks like a really solid result. But I think they would have wanted more, and expected performance placed them closer to 16th. So that was a huge concern, and obviously that's resulted in them sacking David Moyes. Do you think that was deserved?
Yeah, I do think so. I think there's a lot of reluctancy from West Ham fans to sack him.
Understandably,
because he bought them their European trophy. You're always going to give that manager time, but realistically, the performances just weren't good enough. And West Ham know they have the potential to be higher than 9th. They know they've got the potential to challenge in the European spots. So it was a below par performance without a trophy. I know that sounds harsh to assess it like that, but that is where West Ham are right now. That wasn't good enough from Moyes. He's gone. They've brought in a manager who has European pedigree, knows what it takes to go deep in European competitions, and could definitely be pulling West Ham in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think my opinion on Lopetegui has changed so much over the last few months, because when he was first announced, I had a lot of hesitancy because of his time at Wolves and how that panned out. And I think we did a stream in May where we were talking about it on there. It might have been the final day stream, actually.
I think so, yeah.
And we're talking about Julian Lopetegui going to West Ham. And I think I said on there that West Ham would drop. However, I think my opinion's changed throughout this summer, and a lot of that is behind that recruitment, but it's also, reading on how his style of play will suit West Ham better than it did Wolves, and looking back at how Lopetegui's time at Wolves panned out, and the difficulties he had there, with injuries and with transfer recruitment and stuff like that. I think that will not happen at West Ham. He should have a clean squad. So, in that regard, I think it'll be different, and you can't knock his experience. He's a former Real Madrid manager. Yeah. Anyone who's a former Real Madrid manager had to have got there somehow, and is still going to be a very good calibre of manager. So I now think this Julian Lopetegui appointment could have a similar impact as Anthony Raiola at Bournemouth, or perhaps more similarly with Unai Emery at Aston Villa.
100%.
I think this could rise them up the Premier League table. So I think West Ham are in a really good position right now, and I think their recruitment has been brilliant. So let's look through that, because normally in these videos we suggest some transfers. I'm not sure we need to today, because the recruitment from West Ham this window has been absolutely phenomenal. We'll start with outgoings. First up, Thilo Kehrer going to Monaco for 9.5 million. I think Kehrer is one who, it never really worked out for him at West Ham. He had some okay games, but a lot of his performances weren't great.
Yeah, Kehrer started terribly. I think, didn't he score an own goal on his debut?
I seem to remember that. Yeah.
And he didn't start very well in the Premier League. He slowly adapted. He got better. He did decently, but realistically, 9.5 million is not a bad price to lose him. He'll do well at Monaco, a decent side in France. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's a massive loss for West Ham. A bit of a player that never really shined in the Premier League.
No, I think he's a bit too clumsy, not comfortable enough on the ball, not physical enough really for the Premier League. He's a bit too slender. So, if he goes to Monaco and becomes huge, maybe we'll see him back in the Premier League one day. Yeah. But yeah, he just didn't work out at West Ham, especially for David Moyes' side that needed big physical centre-halves. I mean, look at Mavropanos, look at Aguad. He did not suit that. And Zuma as well, to be fair. But he didn't suit that. Sally Benrahma's also departed. He was out on loan anyway for the back half of last season at Lyon. They've now made that permanent for £12 million. I think the loan already was £5 million. Yeah. And this was an obligation clause or an option to buy clause. So in all, it's about 17 million, I think. So that's quite good to get for a player who was a bit part rotation. Benrahma was a weird one because West Ham's recruitment in the Championship has been quite good. You look at Jared Bowen, for example, fantastic signing, and we've seen how he developed. But Benrahma came in from Brentford. It just didn't ever really click, did it?
It was a strange time, as you say, because I think Benrahma is such an exciting player. He is such a dangerous player. The one thing he lacks for me is consistency. He had his moments at West Ham. He scored some brilliant goals. He could turn results around and flip a switch. I think he had. I can't remember who he had played. I think it was one really good game in Europe where he was phenomenal. but there wasn't enough of that. He'd do that and then spend 5 games where he only played 80 minutes across those 5 games and didn't really do anything. So it was a bit of the consistency wasn't there. Very exciting player. I think he'll do well he'll do well in Lyon. It is Lyon's super team they seem to be building over in France. But yeah, not a massive loss for West Ham.
Yeah, definitely. And then Flynn Downs as well, joining Southampton for 18 million. So Downs was part of the deal last summer that saw Ward-Prowse join West Ham. As part of that, Downs was loaned to Southampton. I don't think he was clearly a player with a lot of potential, and I think he'll do well at Southampton. And he may go on to be a player that West Ham would want to be in their side.
Yeah.
But I don't think right now he's a player they need. I think they've got better options in defensive midfield. So yes, they could put time and effort into developing Downs, and it may turn out that he is as good as someone like Alvarez. I don't think he will be, but that could happen. I think the position West Ham are in, though, they would rather sign proven entities and be able to sell off this talent. And then, I think Downs is a very good player. I think he'll develop well at Southampton, but I don't think it's a huge loss.
Yeah,
it's a huge loss for West Ham. £18 million as well to pocket for a player who wasn't at the club last season. That's a very healthy thing.
Yeah, exactly that. If he turns, as you say, for Southampton he could be a real gem, but for West Ham and the direction they're going in, I can see why they've let him go.
Yeah, so West Ham, they haven't generated a lot of money in sales, but obviously they did still have some of that Declan Rice money, I want to say, left over, because they've been smart with how they've saved that. So they've had a lot of money to recruit this window, and they've very much shown everyone that they've got a lot of money to recruit.
I think this is the best window so far of any club in the Premier League. This isn't, when we're going to go through it, this is an incredible window.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll start with probably the most unknown player on this list, which is Louis Guilherme, coming in from Palmeiras. £20 million is a lot to spend on a Brazilian talent, but if he does go on to fulfil his potential, I think this is a brilliant signing. He's someone who's going to come in and probably play on that left flank. I don't think he's going to start for West Ham this season, but if he can get some rotation minutes, that would be really good for his development. So I think he'll play more of the development squad this season, but I guess we'll see. If he comes in, I've not watched any of West Ham pre-season, so it's difficult to comment, but I think he's a player who could come in and do a real good job.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be this season yet, but he's definitely a player with a lot of potential. He could play on the right flank. He's more likely to play on the left flank. I think he can also do a job in midfield. So he's very versatile, clearly a very talented winger, very pacey. He's that classic Brazilian talent.
Yeah.
If it works out, lovely days. West Ham have signed a possible world beater at £20 million. If it doesn't, they'll probably be able to recoup a lot of that, because I can't see his value depreciating that much. So yeah, I think this is good business from West Ham.
Yeah, very much so. Again, as you said, if he turns out to be as good as he could be, that value is going to increase tenfold. Very dangerous player, could cause a lot of problems, and hopefully we see him develop incredibly well.
Yeah, and they'll probably sell him to Chelsea for £100 million in a couple of years. Up next, Max Kilman from Wolves for £38 million. This was a bit of a strange one to me, because I've never seen the hype with Max Kilman. And I think that price tag is very inflated because he's English, because you're buying from a domestic rival. So I did think this was a bit of a weird one at the time. But I get it. He's probably proven. I don't think he'll start with Nayef Aguad in that left centre half spots, but it does give you a really nice rotation. They have been very light. Do you think Kilman over Aguad?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Kilman. I think he's a very, very good centre half, and that's the thing. I think you're right with the price. He's English from the Premier League, and he's got age on his side. It's going to be a hefty fee. I think there'll be good competition between him and Aguad. Definitely, I'm going to be intrigued to see who's going to play there.
Fair enough. I think Aguad would edge it for me, but equally Lopetegui's worked with Kilman in the past, which may be why he's decided to bring him across. I think it's a very good well, he's there a year, Julian Lopetegui.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
He was there quite a while, to be fair.
Not a good year for Wolves.
No, to be fair, Lopetegui did well. He just left because they didn't have any money.
At the start, he left like a week before the start of the next season.
Because they didn't give him any money, so he just left. But yeah, I think Kilman's a really good player.
Yeah, so definitely.
Interesting one. Fotheringham joining from Sheffield United. Where's Fotheringham? I don't know. I mean, it's just a rotation goalkeeper.
He is not playing whatsoever. No. He's got his wrists. He doesn't have them.
He's not very good, but if he is called upon, he might be able to do a job. I think Fabianski may depart at the end of the season, so they'll need a backup goalkeeper. I think he can possibly do that.
Fotheringham could probably potentially cut it in the first rounds of the cups and things like that. But realistically, he's not going to be starting. He's in it. He's English. He helps registration for Europe which they're hoping to get next season. He fills a space.
Yeah, definitely so. And then Crescencio Somerville up next. £25 million from Leeds United. I think it's a really good addition.
Incredible player. One of the best players in the Championship last season. He is so dangerous, causes defenders so many problems. He's one of those players that whether you're a neutral fan or rival fan, you just love watching him play because he's such a good footballer. I think 25 million is a brilliant price as well. Obviously that is helped by the fact that Leeds didn't get promoted, which is probably why it's a bit lower, because obviously if they had gone up they would have been in the Premier League anyway. But Somerville deserves to be in the top flight of English football. He's a very good player, and I hope we see those kind of performances at West Ham. Consistent, incredible performances.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them lots of options now with that attacking quartet of sorts, with the three playing just off the striker, because obviously Somerville he's a left winger, could play on the right wing. I think we'll see him on the left wing though. They've also got Kudus, who will be. We expect to play on the left wing, Paqueta in attack midfield, but obviously we could see Kudus come inside and Paqueta drop deeper to have Somerville start.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be lots of rotation in there for West Ham this season. It's good because it gives them options. It gives them players to bring off the bench, which they perhaps haven't had in the last few seasons. When you're turning to your substitutes and go, we need a goal. Yeah. Oh, well, here's Saïd Benrahma and Danny Ings. It doesn't exactly inspire the same confidence as this season will probably be Mikel Antonio and Crescencio Somerville, if Somerville's not on the pitch already.
That's incredible.
That's a huge upgrade there. And again, we talk about those floor and ceiling raisers. Yeah. What West Ham have done, in certain areas, they've raised the ceiling, they've brought in huge players, and the good players that are already there are now rotation or squad players, and they've raised the floor by bringing in some really decent talent that will sort of fill out the squad. So I think that's been really nice recruitment. And well, Antonio's benched for one big reason. It's the addition of Nicholas Füllkrug. I really like this signing. The thing for me is that this feels like the most David Moyes striker ever, and they didn't ever give him a chance to use him. But Füllkrug, he's a very interesting forward. I think his ball striking is one of the, he is up there with the best in Europe. Yeah. I think he's a very decent finisher. I find there's considering he's 31 and unproven in the Premier League, I do have some doubts over him, so I'm not 100% assured it's going to be a fantastic signing, but there is a lot to be excited about, I think.
I mean, this is a brilliant signing. We are in a world now where West Ham can sign a Champions League finalist to lead their line.
He did miss a lot of chance in that final.
He did, but he was there. I think he's an incredible player. As you say, the way he hits a ball is incredible. I remember that strike in the opening game of the Euros at like 130 miles an hour. Even Angus Gunn was nowhere near it. But he is...
No, doesn't sound like Angus Gunn.
Such a good player. Brilliant in the air, as you say. He's a brute up there. He throws himself about.
Yeah.
I think it's good though, and he's not Premier League proven, yes, but he's got the characteristics that will cut it in the Premier League, because he can challenge up against the big centre halves in the league. He can knock it down to Somerville. He can knock it down to Kudus and Paqueta, and then let them do their bit. I think, it's an incredible signing. Champions League finalist Nicholas Füllkrug is playing for West Ham next season.
Very true, very true. I mean, I think Dortmund are the ones that profit the most because they've brought in Sergio Guirassy, and I think that's an upgrade, and they've made money on the whole deal. But regardless, I think this is a good signing. I think the other thing we should mention is his ability with his back to goal.
Yes.
His ability to bring others into the game. When you look at the creative and attacking talents of West Ham, that's a huge, huge plus side, because he can bring in the players like Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus, Somerville, bring them into the attacking areas, link up with them nicely, and whether it's Füllkrug or Kudus or whoever, putting in the ball in the back of the net, the important thing is the ball is in the back of the net. West Ham scored. So I think he does add a lot to their attacking areas. I also think that striker was a position they desperately needed to improve in. I think Antonio's done a great job, but he was never reliable, never consistent, and because he's not a striker really.
No,
he was always a winger in his youth. He's become very physical now, so he can play up front. But I don't think he was ever a top Premier League level striker. But Füllkrug could come in and be at that level. It's still a bit of a gamble because he's quite old, and so you're not really going to have any resale value on this. So the player has got to perform in that regard. But I think he's a player who could come in and do a really good job. So I'm intrigued to see him. And hopefully it's a good signing for West Ham. Up next, we've got Guido Rodriguez joining another free transfer. This is remarkable business again from West Ham. They needed reliable cover for Edson Alvarez, and well, it's a free transfer. What can go wrong? He certainly can't be worse than Calvin Phillips was. All he's got to do is not score an own goal on his debut, and he's already passed that. So yeah, I think he's a really decent player. He's always been very solid for Betis. Another one who's in his 30s now, but West Ham have got a really nice age range now in their squad, because yes, they've brought in a few players who are 30, but then they're also looking at like Kilman, who's a youngster, and a couple others we're going to touch on in a moment, who are young defenders, very exciting signings, and like Louis Guilherme, who is 18, 19, so a real age range now in that squad. Let's go on to the big ones. So I'm going to leave the most exciting transfer last because we're going to analyse that a little bit deeper. So we'll talk first about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, something that isn't announced yet at the time of time of recording, but we expect will be announced before this goes out or within the coming days. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka joining from Manchester United around £20 million. This for me is a really nice signing. Yeah. He's a right back who's never really been given a chance at Manchester United. I guess he has been given a chance. It's just not really... I don't know, he's never been given plaudits for his performances. I think that in all the chaos that is that Manchester United backline, he's usually a fairly reliable performer.
Yeah, I feel like he was under a lot of criticism, but it's very hard to play well at Man United over the last couple of years. What you got to remember about Wan-Bissaka is forget the time at United, forget the bad performance. You just look at him as a player. He was, and I believe still is, one of the best fullbacks in one-on-one situations. Like, he hasn't just lost that ability over the last couple of years. Yeah. He is phenomenal in a one-on-one. He is one of the hardest fullbacks to beat in the league. And if he's playing consistently, he could be a very, very good player. Incredible fullback defensively. It's very rare. You see a load of full... And he's good coming forwards. He can, he's decent coming forwards. I'm not saying he isn't.
I was going to say, I think what you have now with that right back is a really nice rotation in that Wan-Bissaka is a much more defensive fullback.
Yeah.
But Vladimir Coufal... he can't defend for his life, but he is fantastic going forward. Yeah. So if you're playing a Manchester City and you need to deal with Jeremy Doku, you put Wan-Bissaka at right back and he's going to keep him tight. And I think for most games, Wan-Bissaka will start. But if you've got Southampton at home and you want to whip balls with Nicholas Fulkrug for 90 minutes, then get Vladimir Coufal flying down the right-hand side, whipping those balls in and get a few goals.
That's the thing we haven't talked about Fulkrug as well. West Ham love a corner. Love it. You've got Ward-Prowse crossing it onto heads of Aguard and Fulkrug and Kilman. They're going to be so... If they weren't dangerous... And Zuma is so... If they weren't dangerous from set pieces before now, they definitely are going into this season.
Yeah, and if they all miss it, Ward-Prowse might just put one in himself.
Exactly that. Yeah, very good point.
So yeah, very good business so far. Let's go on to the marquee one. How on earth West Ham...
This is unbelievable.
The price for this player makes me... This is why, for Kilman and stuff, I say it's overpriced. Because this guy's massively underpriced. £35 million signing. Jean-Claire Todibo coming in from OGC Nice. He was on the plane to Turin. And West Ham rung him up and said, divert to East London because you're on your way to the Hammers. He signed Premier League money talks. You're convincing a player to leave or not join what's a very exciting project under Thiago Motta at Juventus to come to West Ham. It's also an exciting project, don't get me wrong, but it's not Motta and Juventus. This is a fantastic coup. I don't know what Julian Lopetegui has said to him. Maybe I'm going to pay you double, but it's something along those lines. But I think this is a fantastic addition. Let's pull up his FBref profile because... he is an absolute physical monster. He's a fantastic centre-half. He ranked, tackles 83rd percentile last season in a Nice side who were very attacking under Farioli. I think he looked really comfortable with the ball at his feet, and that's shown by progressive passes ranking in the 85th percentile, 5.09 per 90. Progressive carries ranking in the 83rd percentile, 1.09 per 90. He's very good with the ball at his feet, very comfortable. But as we can see as well from those tackles won, those interceptions, he's very good as well with that defensive side of the game. 60% aerial success rate, so that's really good as well. Clearly decent in the air. I think he's just an all-round brilliant signing. Passes completed 75.64 per 90, 94 percentile, ranked in the 97th percentile for ball recoveries. Solid in every area. Solid. We just have to sit here and applaud this transfer window from West Ham, and this tops it all off. For me, Todibo is the perfect Premier League centre half. He is big and physical and strong, but he's also incredible with the ball at his feet. That is exactly what you want from a centre half. That is what the best centre halves in the league are like. You look at the City centre halves; they're all massive, brilliantly physically and in the air, but they're also so good with the ball at their feet. Yeah,
he's the perfect signing. This is a brilliant deal from West Ham. Tops off a superb window. If I'm West Ham fans, I'd be so excited. And as an opposition fan, I am worried at what this West Ham side could do next season.
Yeah, this almost felt like a deal that's too good to miss out on. Manchester United have got to be kicking themselves because they were looking at Todibo at the start of the window. They decided it was too expensive and that he had his heart set on Turin, and then he's in East London.
West Ham, Lopetegui can change your mind in an instant.
Very true. And for me, this feels like it was just a deal too good to miss out on because if you actually look at the squad makeup, they didn't need a right centre half. They've got Manfred Pronce, they've got Zuma, then they've also got Aguard and Kilman at left centre half. So we're going to get onto the squad screen now. So Todibo wasn't a necessary signing, but they've brought in a player who who is of elite quality at a really cheap price. So it's a deal you can't really refuse.
Yeah, exactly that. And to be honest, I think it's incredible that Kurt Zuma is now a third choice centre half on that right hand side, because Kurt Zuma is a very good defender. But and I mean they've got 5 centre halves of the perfect quality.
Yeah,
like it is the perfect rotation of centre halves. It is a brilliant backline.
I absolutely love this West Ham side. So we'll start in goal then. They've got Areola, they've got Fabianski, they've got Foderingham. Areola, one of the top goalkeepers in the league.
Yeah.
I think Fabianski is still going to provide really good cover for a year, and Foderingham obviously is there as a third choice as well. In the back four, well, at right back it's Wan-Bissaka and Vladimir Soufal. Really nice rotation there. Obviously, it was just something like the centre halves: Todibo, Mavropanos, Zuma. I think this is, in a sense, a little harsh on Mavropanos, but I think he'll understand because West Ham are developing. But he was phenomenal last season. He was a player who didn't ever find his way at Arsenal, rebuilt his career out in Germany, at Stuttgart, I believe, and then he came back in here to the Premier League with West Ham, and he was incredible last season.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one for West Ham, because I look at the squad and I look at the depth that they have, and I think it'll be frustrating that they haven't got Europe this season, because discussing Mavropanos, as you say, will probably be a little bit, it might be harsh on him because they haven't got that extra competition. If they were fighting in 4 competitions, there'd be plenty of rotation to go around. But they are missing that big one, which is Europe. But equally, he will see the vision. He will see this side and go, right, next season we could be in the Europa League, your Conference League, whatever it is, and he's going to play a lot of minutes, because that's the thing. This West Ham side is pretty, because what they've managed to do is they've managed to prepare a side that are good enough to play in Europe, but they're not in Europe yet. So they're gonna while everyone else is jetting off, playing 3 games a week, West Ham are going to be staying at home and resting up. They've got a European quality side without European football, which usually is a bad thing, but it's all about the setup. All about the setup going on in the next years.
Yeah, then we move to left back, and it feels like they forgot about left back, but I think because Emerson Palmieri has been brilliant for them, so I can understand why exactly. I can understand why they're keeping him. I think they would have hoped to bring in someone as competition, because Aaron Cresswell has been a fantastic servant for West Ham, but I would say he's past it now.
He bleeds claret and blue.
Well, very true, but I do think he is. He's a bit past now. Emerson, though, has been fantastic, so I can understand why they're keeping him. I think left back, they've done so much this window. Left back is something they can look to target in January if they need it, or next summer. They've got players that could play there as well, so it's not awful. In defensive midfield, then, Edson Alvarez was absolutely phenomenal last season, and he'll keep starting in that role. He props up that West Ham midfield. It means the other players in there, your Ward-Prowse, your Paqueta, have that freedom, have that licence to go and get forwards, because they've got one of the best defensive midfielders in the league behind.
Yeah, exactly.
So really strong stuff. Guido Rodriguez as a backup, then Thomas Souček, who I actually think may play a slightly more advanced role this season.
This is where the questions come. I'm intrigued to see what West Ham thinks as well, because what I've seen from West Ham fans is they're massive fans of Souček. And obviously on here he's third choice, but as you say, he could play a higher role.
Yeah, I think he'll probably play those higher roles. To be fair, he does have the skill set to play attack midfield. We've seen the headed goals he gets. We see those mazy drives through the pitch, those runs. I think that could be very useful. And Souček Fulkrug link up in attacking areas. Would be exciting, but I think he can play defensive midfield. He could play that Ward-Prowse, or he could even go in attack midfield, which would be fun to watch. Then there's other midfield roles. Obviously, Paqueta and Ward-Prowse are both very comfortable playing midfield. I've just put Ward-Prowse there so we can put Paqueta in attacking midfield, because in their best lineup, that's how you would expect them to line up. Obviously, they are a little bit light in those areas, but with how much they've done this summer, I think that's all right. And they have got young players coming through, like George Earthy, for example, who I've put out on the left wing because that's his predominant position, but he can play midfield. As can Guilherme, he can play midfield, as can Kudus, he can play midfield. So they've got loads of options there. Yes, it looks like they're very light, and they are light in a sense, but I think they're all right.
They've got cover in it, like everyone can cover everywhere they need to.
People can play other positions. Obviously, you start to pick up a few injuries, and that depth is strained, but you've got youngsters who can come through and stuff like that, so I think they'll be all right. And obviously, Somerville can play on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, they've only really got Bowen, but as I say, Somerville can go over there. Jared Bowen, top player. I'm surprised they've held on to him for as long as they have.
I know.
I think they've got to start earmarking up potential replacements, because if West Ham are phenomenal this season, I think a lot of that will be through Jared Bowen, and I think there will be big clubs pining for his signature. Yeah,
and I think that is the big thing to remember with players like Bowen, is that West Ham had a phenomenal window, yes, but they've already got the building blocks in place with your players like Bowen and Paqueta and Kudus to be a top team. And I think, as much, obviously we'll all talk about the big signs, we'll talk about if Fulkrug's going to shine or Somerville, but realistically, if West Ham are going to do exceptionally well this season, I think if they do get top 5, top 6 this season, the one player will look at the numbers and who will have the most numbers. I'll put a lot of money on the fact that will be Jared Bowen over everyone else.
Yeah, potentially. I think the more impressive thing from West Ham than the signings is the retains.
Yeah,
who they've managed to keep hold of, because Paqueta was largely expected to go to Manchester City. Now, obviously, Paqueta still has the huge cloud of betting drama scandal that is still hanging over his head, and that could create an issue for West Ham if they do end up with no Paqueta, because suddenly Kudus has to play centre midfield every game. They've only got Saville on the left. They're very much stretched in attacking areas. Any injuries would be very bad for them, but I think they're still all right for now if Paqueta can avoid those charges. But I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think their ability to hold on to players like that has been really good. I think Kudus, another one who was linked with massive moves away. Manchester United had long-term interest. They were also interested in Jared Bowen, and none of those deals have come off. I know Liverpool have had talks about Jared Bowen, or at least looked at Jared Bowen in the past. And if they are looking for a Salah replacement, who better to fill that role? Premier League proven. So yeah, I think they will struggle to hold on to him in the next few years, but they've done very well this summer to hold on to everyone so far. There's still a month to go.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, but they have done well so far. And then in that striker position, 3 options. Full club the starter, we would expect. Yeah. They've got Antonio, and Danny Ings is still here.
Good on him. I think what this shows, based on who they've brought in and all the retainees, it shows that clearly West Ham are promising and expecting a lot. And my big question is they've got to deliver it. They have to deliver it now, and I think they will. I look at this side, I don't know how this side fails. If it does, then there's going to be a lot of questions asked of Julian Lopetegui.
Yeah.
He has got the players and the resources at his disposal to turn this West Ham side into a top team. And if he can deliver on that promise, because let's be honest, he would have had to do a lot of convincing to get Todibo to join, and players like that. That convincing, he's got to deliver the expectation. If he does, then the players, fans, everyone involved with the club is going to have a brilliant season.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, they could benefit from the fact other teams are either making stupid transfers or have Europe.
Exactly. There's so many. Again, we spoke about with other sides, but United are always an unknown. Chelsea are an unknown. No one knows what's happening with Liverpool. Tottenham are in a bit of a weird scenario at the moment. That's 4 top sides there that West Ham could all jump. Then suddenly they're in the top 5.
Yeah, and that could be Champions League if the other English sides done enough in the coefficients.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I think the goal for West Ham this season will be to get back to Europe. I don't think they... I mean, we can give a loose prediction here. Obviously, our full season predictions will be coming on Wednesday, so look out for that. I personally don't think they'll be... I think they'll be in Europe. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4. I think 5th or 6th would be a push, but they could get 7th, which might be Europa League if 5th is Champions League. Really, if not, I think Conference League football is what West Ham should be expecting.
It depends what their teams turn up with. It really does. Or obviously the other option is go deep in cup competitions. We know how good Lopetegui is in Europe in knockout football. Lopetegui fries. Look what he's done at Sevilla and co. If he can do that, obviously they haven't got Europe, but if they can put together an incredible FA Cup or Carabao Cup campaign, that's a trophy and guaranteed Europe. So that will be a brilliant thing for West Ham as well to get back into the winner's circle, get back some silverware. But overall, I think from West Ham fans, please get involved in the comments. But I would be very excited about what could happen this season for the Hammers.
Yeah, and I would say as well, be patient. The first 5 games West Ham are very difficult. They play Aston Villa at home, who are a very difficult team. They're playing Crystal Palace away. They've looked very good last season. How they'll handle the losing Elise, we're not sure. That could be a win, should be a win, but perhaps. But I think that'll be a tough game. Then Manchester City at home, and then they've got Fulham away and Chelsea at home. So first 5 games quite difficult for West Ham, but I think they could definitely make some.
Yeah, the big thing is when you make so many transfers, it's about how that squad gels together. And obviously, again, people who have watched more pre-season than us will know how it's starting to settle, but. If that squad gels really quickly and can start playing really good football together, it will work wonders. Yeah. But if it is a bit slow, then I think it will come right eventually, and that's the be patient part. It will just be about when does it suddenly start working, because it could be that it's too late to do anything about it.
Yeah, potentially. But I think it's a very interesting season. Yes. But that's everything for today. Do get involved in the comments below. We love hearing from the fans of the clubs, because there are going to be little things that we don't know. And
you know more than us.
Oh, exactly, because you're fans of the club. If you've enjoyed these previews and want to watch more, then we've done one for every single Premier League club. On screen now will be our one from Tottenham that we did yesterday. If you want to go check that out. If not, every Premier League side is on our playlist. So go and check that out. We've done every team. Wolves coming up tomorrow to finish the set. And then we're into the Premier League season in a couple of days' time. So,
Yes.
Very exciting stuff. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.